Sometimes people aren't buying from you for really simple reasons that are super easy to fix. In this video series, we've been going through some of those reasons. And in this final video in this series, I'm going to cover the final two W's in the W5 website checklist. I'm covering both of them in this video because they are so straightforward. So, W number 4 is where. Now this seems pretty straightforward, but you'd be amazed. I still see even big companies sometimes flubbing this one. Where are you located? Let them know that. If possible, include maps and driving directions if you have a physical location. But even if you don't have a physical location, people want to have an idea of where you are. It just makes you seem more real, more credible. Now I realize that for Canadian companies and sometimes companies in other countries that aren't quite as dominant as our neighbor to the south, you may be reluctant to acknowledge where you're from. There are a lot of Canadian companies that try and leave that vague so that Americans can think you're American-based. Sometimes I have to admit that can be helpful, but more often than not, it'll actually hurt you. You really, if at all possible, do want to give some idea of that where. If you operate out of a home office, as many of us do now, you might not want to put your address on the website. In that case, there's a simple solution. Just go rent a mailbox from a private mailbox rental company, one that'll let you call your box suite number instead of from the post office where they insist you call it P.O. box number. P.O. box number is a red flag, scares the heck out of potential customers. But if you've got that suite number there, even if they drop by and look for you and discover that it is just a mailbox number, they can contact you because of course you'll have contact information on your website and you can explain very simply why you've done that. The second element of where is where can they reach you? Where can they call you? Make sure you put a phone number on every page of your website because even people who like researching things on the web, often it's just faster and easier for them to pick up a phone and call you with a question, and you want to make that really easy for them. In fact, you should even have a toll-free number on your website. They are easy to get, they're no longer expensive things to put up, and you'd be surprised where your potential customers might actually be located. If you've got a toll-free number, you may discover your market is bigger than you think it is. Where can they email you? Now, a lot of companies just put up a form instead of an email address, but the fact is that's putting a barrier between them and their customers. It's way better if you put in a real email address and make sure that you've got somebody who's monitoring and responding to that all the time. That gives people a much closer sense of connection with you and makes them more likely to buy. And of course, where can they find you on social media? If you are on any social media websites, make sure you've got links to those websites all over your website. The fifth W is when. When are you open? What are your hours? If you've got a physical location, make sure people have that information. When will they hear from you if they put in a question for customer service? Now, sure, 24/7 responses would be great, but let's be honest, not everybody can afford to do that. But what you can do is at least indicate on your website how soon will they get an answer if they do send in a query. If they know that, they will be more patient. Most people can accept, for instance, if you don't answer their questions on the weekend, but they need to know that beforehand. Otherwise, they will be expecting an immediate answer. And the final aspect of when is when will my order be delivered? People want to have some idea of delivery times even before they've placed an order. And then, of course, once the order is in progress, you want to keep them informed about when it's going to be delivered. Where is it in that process? Again, information makes people feel comfortable. The more information you've got at their disposal, the more comfortable they will be in buying from you. So that's it. That's the full W5 website checklist. If you want a little quick version of it, then by all means, please download it from the link you'll find on this page and run through it with your website. If you'd like to get more advice on how you can make your website sell and communicate more effectively, feel free to drop by the frankonlinemarketing.com website. There we've got free resources. There's the weekly podcast where we interview entrepreneurs and small businesses about what they're doing and how it's working for them and how it could work for you too. You can also read the blog, sign up for our newsletter, which comes out about every 2 weeks, and it's filled with ideas that can help you make your website more effective. I've got one last thing to ask you before I go, and that is, could you put in some comments below and let me know what you've thought of this video series? Helpful? Would you like more detail? I know I was trying to keep it short. What other topics would you find useful for me to cover? Please do give your feedback, because the more I know from you, the more I can help you make your website sell and communicate much more effectively.